Welcome to Water Talk with Paul the Waterman, brought to you by Water Pros. Paul the Waterman is Colorado's expert on all things related to the water we use and drink in our homes. Have you ever thought about where your water actually comes from? Is it safe to drink? Is it harmful to my health, my skin, or my hair? Paul the Waterman knows water, and he has the answers. So get ready to talk to the Waterman yourself right now. Call in with your questions to talk with your host, Paul the Waterman.
Hey, welcome to Water Talk. I'm Paul the Waterman. How are you? We're going to have a great show as always. You know, I think this is a one-of-a-kind program. I'm not sure if there's any other radio show in the United States today that focuses on the quality and concern of our drinking water. So the last couple weeks, we've been focusing on the forever chemicals, PFAS, and it's a serious issue. I was thinking about coming to the studio this afternoon about Colorado Springs. We know a handful of years ago that Denver posted a major article, and then we also know they started handing out bottled water for those that lived near the military base. PFAS was a major contaminant concern. What we've learned is, you know, the contamination spreads because of the distribution of biosolids. Biosolids are those that are removed from a waste treatment plant. It's basically human waste, okay? And so they take the human waste out, they call it biosolids, and they give it away to farmers. And farmers use that for fertilizer on their fields. Well, then we find out that biosolids are contaminated with PFAS. So we've heard a couple episodes where we listen to farmers that unexpectedly took the biosolids for free as fertilizer, only to have their farms literally destroyed. And last week we heard where residents, owners of those farms themselves were contaminated. And we also heard a reporter that spent $800 to get her blood test, only to find out she has high PFAS contamination. PFAS is, I think, the number one major concern we have in our water because of how long it's been going on and how bad it is and how small the contamination is to be dangerous to our health. So originally, the PFAS contamination was at 1 part per billion, and they told us that if you took an Olympic-sized swimming pool and you had 1 drop of PFAS in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, that would be equal to 1 part per billion. But since the EPA's gotten together and they came out with, okay, it should be less than 4 parts per trillion, and now the EPA basically says 0. But here's the issue, and here's my concern. I mentioned Colorado Springs. How bad is the contamination in Colorado Springs? They haven't told us. I haven't seen it. And what about their bio-waste or biosolids that they take from the waste treatment plants? Where's that go? What farm does that gone to? And is all our farmland, do we have to worry about all our farmland being contaminated with PFAS? Because what happens when it gets into the farmland? So it gets into the farmland, and it gets into the crops, but it gets into the cattle. And how's it get into the cattle? Well, because of the hay that's raised in the farm that they use, silage, corn silage that they feed the cows. Remember, there was a dairy farm that was completely devastated and destroyed, and he had to put down over 80% of his herd because his cows were contaminated with PFAS. It's a serious issue, ladies and gentlemen, not to mention the microplastics. And we have microplastics all over Colorado. You know, every single major body of water in the state of Colorado has tested positive for microplastics. Give us a call. I'd love to talk to you about it. I want to hear your questions. You can reach us here at 303-477-5600. That's 303-477-5600. And I'd love to hear your input regarding this concern. PFAS contamination was a product from Teflon, the nonstick cookware. And then it also was in Scotchgard. And then the byproduct, the waste, was dumped or buried in ground. Or auto parts for the chrome in automotive parts was used for PFAS. And that manufacturer waste was dumped right down the drain and ended up in a municipal sewer system, which contaminated almost everything. And the other thing that strikes me amazing is that there's PFAS. You go to YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, and do the same research that I do, find the same information that I find, and you can see that the stories about forever chemicals go 8 to 10 years old, but yet it really hasn't hit mainstream, and it should. PFAS contamination is global. It's everywhere. So the forever chemicals, PFAS, and then the Gen X chemicals. Gen X chemicals, basically what we learned, came from the creation of PFAS. And so they went to Gen X, and the Gen X chemicals are now just as bad. And so these forever chemicals are in 97% of all Americans. 97% of all Americans have PFAS contamination. So we all do. So does that mean that part of our yearly health regimen is that will our insurance cover the cost for the PFAS blood test? I'd like to know. I'm going to ask my provider next time I go to for a medical appointment. Hey, can you test for PFAS? Where do I stand? You would think if we had PFAS in our body, it causes cancer. You would think that would be a number one health priority, like COVID. COVID became something that everybody had to have the vaccine. And they tested for the COVID vaccine. Remember, they tested for the vaccine, then went to the waste treatment plant to test for the vaccine, which was alarming because you would think that in wastewater in the waste treatment plant, there should be enough chlorine in the water to kill that virus. So I'm surprised that a virus tests positive in waste treatment plants, but that's how they tested it. Remember that? So, these forever chemicals are, how many of us out there have a friend or family that was just, member that was just diagnosed with cancer? You can't help but wonder, was the PFAS contamination, did that have something to do with it? We're going to play for you, I'm going to play for you a story that we got from News Nation, again, on PFAS, or forever chemicals. I think you're going to find it very, very fascinating. I will absolutely interrupt with comments. And again, if you guys have a thought or question on what you hear or what you've heard from the last couple of shows that we've had for you, you can give us a call. Again, I'll give you the number one more time. It's 303-477-5600. Okay, Luke.
It's 4 a.m. in Maine, and just like his father and grandfather before him on this land, Fred Stone is up to milk the cows.
Well, it's always known as cows first, people second. And that's the way it's always been.
For Fred, it's always been about the cows.
I wish snow wasn't cold, and I wish rain wasn't wet, and I wish I still didn't love my cows. And the more people I meet, the more I love my cows.
In the warm barn,
Samantha Piccalilli.
They wait to be milked.
Yes, I see you, BB-8.
With names like Moonbeam, Blue, and Storm Chaser, he knows them by heart.
There's no phoniness about them. You know exactly where you stand. And they're all different. I mean, their personalities are all completely different.
Yes, I see you.
Every day he takes care of them.
Come on, honey, you're almost there.
And in exchange, this. What he calls liquid gold. His family has been here since 1914, and for more than a century, the high-quality milk and cream has gone to market. Now every drop goes down the drain.
I told a lot of people that you either laugh or cry, and I ran out of tears a long time ago.
Fred Stone's milk is contaminated, heavily tainted with chemicals linked with cancer.
There's nothing left. At some point in time, hopefully not tomorrow, I'm going to have to tell my father and my grandfather what happened to the dairy farm that they entrusted me with. And that's the part that keeps him at night.
He now finds himself on a growing list of American farmers.
There's so much sadness and anger.
This has broken our hearts and crushed our spirit. And I don't know if we'll ever get that back.
Told their farms are shot through with chemicals linked with liver damage, damage to fertility, thyroid issues, and cancer.
All of this land has been poisoned, water contaminated, all of these people touched by this.
Advocate Erin Brockovich ready to take on this fight.
EPA, FDA, political leaders, where have you been? How did you miss this? That now we have an entire country that could potentially be in peril from this forever chemical that's destroyed your land, destroyed our farming, destroyed our water, and destroyed public health and welfare. Wow. Kudos. Good job.
Called forever chemicals because they are nearly impossible to destroy. Prime soil, crops, milk tainted in the heartland, leaving many farmers on the brink of ruin.
Suicide among dairy farmers and farmers in general is incredibly high because a lot of these farms, a third, fourth, and fifth generation, you are going to be the person to lose it. Your great-great-great-grandfather cleared the land, and you are going to be the person to have a bankruptcy auction because you can't hold on to the land.
This is the story of how their farmland was destroyed right out from under them.
Greed, money.
We'll take you to ground zero of where it all began.
You never wanted to be an activist.
I just wanted to milk our cows and be left the hell alone.
And show you how far back the paper trail goes.
When they had the choice of do we go public with this or do we sweep it under the rug, they chose the rug.
And with these chemicals now impacting 97% of Americans, according to the CDC, what you and your family need to know.
I am glad News Nation is looking into this problem. All of us, the entire country, will deal with the fallout. Wow.
Make it right. Don't do this to anyone else.
To Fred Stone's farm right now, and we are passing some of the most beautiful farmland. It looks pristine, it looks untouched, and you would never guess that in some of these areas, potentially cancer-causing chemicals are already sowed into the soil.
Hey there, Fred. This is some weather for working on the tractor, Fred.
Fred's grandpa built this farmhouse. These walls have seen more than a century of hard Maine weather and even harder one harvests.
My daughter and my son grew up in the house with their grandparents living right here.
What do you love about being a farmer?
The cows, showing cows.
For nearly half a century, they raised and showed prize-winning cows.
Back then we were young and energetic and had all kinds of plans and dreams, and that all ended back in 2016.
In 2016, an innocuous routine water test on their property revealed high levels of PFAS, man-made chemicals the Stones had never heard of before. They didn't have to, but volunteered to test their soil, cows, and milk. All came back high. Fred says he'll never forget what came next.
Tanya, our milk inspector, comes out and says, you know, Freddie, she says, one of the ideas that the Department of Ag wants to do is they want to kill the whole herd. And I said, great, Tanya, that's a hell of an idea. I said, I'll tell you what, I will take all the cows down to the extermination site. I will put on my dress whites that I wear when I'm showing, and we'll line them all up, and you can shoot them. And I'll stand there and I will take the first bullet, and you can kill the rest of them. A week later, I get a letter from the state of Maine on suicide prevention. Can't make this stuff up.
Fred had to euthanize 80% of his cows.
We were heartbroken. And, sorry.
To be able to take those animals, that there was nothing wrong with them. I mean, those cows out there depend on you to take care of them. And take them down and shoot them. Just take them down and shoot them.
For a long while, we were, I don't know, I guess you'd call it dead.
Fred says state officials told him his farm was an isolated case.
We were then still being considered a unicorn, that this didn't happen anywhere else.
Did Fred and Laura Stone just get phenomenally unlucky? The answer lies 117 miles north in Unity, Maine, where a young couple pooled all of their money and put it into a dream. They closed on a farm where they could settle down, grow organic produce, have a family, build a whole life.
Oh, dear chickadees, sing a sweet and mournful tune in the month of May, when the lilacs are in bloom.
And when it came to naming it, the choice was easy for Adam Nordell and Johanna Davis.
There's still the sadness in your song.
Songbird Organic Farm.
We imagined that we would be here forever. We imagined that we would build a business that would support our family through our career and into our retirement. So we thought we were settling down for the long haul.
Preventing development, preserving farmland was also a man's dying wish. They found the farm through a service that connects retiring farmers with the next generation. The original owner had pancreatic cancer.
Cancer diagnosis, a terminal cancer diagnosis. So he needed to move quickly to find the next farmers to take over management of this land.
That farmer passed, but his dream flourished. The land and business grew, and they raised their little boy. Then, as news of the contamination on Fred's dairy farm spread, a customer asked Adam and Johanna if they'd heard of PFAS. They voluntarily tested their land.
Okay, so I want to interrupt and I want to share this with you. Colorado has been spreading biosolids with forever chemicals on farms. Records show. How dangerous is it? This is from the Colorado Sun. You want to know how old the article is? It goes back to June 20th of 2022. I never heard of this. How many of you out there, anybody heard of this story? That biosolids, PFAs? Metro Denver wastewater treatment system is spreading sewage, biosolids laced with toxic PFAS, forever chemicals, at its farm in eastern Arapahoe County and on private farms that buy the material as fertilizer, according to test records obtained by the Colorado Sun. I can't believe, I'm just shocked that I've not. And this is a biggest fear, and this is something that I think almost all our farms are contaminated with PFAS. Absolutely, I do. The likely presence of ambiguous and dangerous chemicals on Colorado farmland placed through biosolids spread by Metro Water Recovery and more than 100 other municipal waste agencies add to the growing list of potential health threats and underscores the need for widespread testing, researchers and watchdog groups said. No agency requires Metro Water Recovery or other Colorado municipal waste handlers to test the soil or groundwater where biosolids are spread to determine if the chemicals used to make nonstick pans and waterproof hiking clothes and creating the type of human health threats routinely documented by local and national researchers. Study after study show detectable levels of PFAS in nearly all humans and all fish captured in one Colorado test and in other living creatures. Boy, that's depressing. Something that's been going on this long, and it's just, I haven't seen the mainstream news. Luke, have you seen the mainstream news? Luke hasn't seen the mainstream news. Well, neither have I. Have anybody out there seen this in the mainstream media, known about the biocontaminant PFAS contaminating biosolids? We had a caller one time that worked at a waste treatment plant that called in, and he mentioned this exact thing, and his question was, what would happen if waste treatment plants could not get rid of the biosolids, and what would they do with the biosolids? Metro Water Recovery did testing in 2019 for its own research purpose and found occasional spikes in some types of PFAS chemicals before the biosolids were spread on farms. Metro Water Recovery officials say their 2019 test showed that overall PFAS levels in biosolids are low and not far above the detection level in most samples. Unbelievable.
The results were high. Our drinking water tested about 400 times the state's drinking water threshold.
400 times the state threshold of 20 parts per trillion. Their soil also tested high.
We were in free fall. Do we have a business? Do we have a home here?
Adam says his and his wife's blood levels are higher than employees who worked in PFAS factories.
My blood levels, after living for 7 years on a farm that was spread with sludge 4 times, are higher than those workers in Decatur, Alabama.
How old is your son now, and how aware is he of all of this?
He said, "Is there PFAS? Is it in my body? And is that bad?" And I don't even know what I said. I couldn't answer. That's not something that I want to have to talk to my kid about when he's 5 years old. He has really high levels of this stuff in his body, and he's tiny.
High levels that could lead to lifelong medical issues. Adam and Johanna shut down operations, recalled their products, alerted customers, and eventually did the unthinkable. They shut down their farm.
Why did you feel the need to take it down?
This is no longer Songbird Farm. This is no longer a farm.
The family hasn't picked up an instrument in a long time now. They say the music just isn't in them anymore. Health is a constant worry, and there are questions that defy answers. What does a farmer do with a farm that can grow nothing?
It's a collector's item now.
Fred, too, has taken down his farm sign. They were dropped by their milk distributor.
Yeah, it was a pretty sad day when Laura took the signs down. And that's that. It's the end of that.
Despite a $23,000 water filtration system, the contamination in his milk came back. He is now $1.5 million in debt. Fred, his wife, and their children say they suffer from chronic, worsening poor health. He says that without a federal safety net, he understands why other American farmers wouldn't be jumping to test their land.
You're out there asking somebody to shoot you, and you're giving them the gun and the bullets to do it with. And you know damn well that you're committing financial suicide. That's what we did.
I get angry at the place. I get angry at the land. As if the ground underneath us has betrayed us. But of course the land is, this place is a victim too. The farm is a victim.
So what happened to this prime American farmland?
We have this bright idea that we're going to take all this sewer sludge and we're going to spread it on the land as fertilizer.
Farmers were told it's a win-win, right? You're doing your civic duty.
They got a bad deal. We got a bad deal. That was not a good idea.
How long did chemical companies know this was a problem? How long did government agencies?
It's politics, and it's lack of transparency. It's cover-up. It's greed.
The paper trail and the reach.
It's already here. It's just been lurking and creeping, and we didn't know it. The storm is here. And it's not just in Maine. It's in every single state.
And with 97...
Okay, so one of the things that I want to recap real quick is the biosolids in sludge it's treated sewage is what it is. And so it's often used as fertilizer in agricultural lands. But they contain PFAS. So common sense is a dying commodity in today's world. So if Adams County, for example, I pick on them because I know for a fact they sent letters out to their residents and users of their water district stating, hey, that the levels of PFAS exceed the EPA recommended standards. So then that's safe to say that those PFAS are going to end up in the sewage, in the biosolids. So what's going to happen to those biosolids? Denver sent out a letter saying, okay, same thing, exceeded, EPA standards of PFAS. So clearly their waste is going to be exceeding EPA standards of PFAS or in the biosolids. But then there's no requirement to test those before they get rid of them. So is that neglect? If we have a municipality that knows that they're giving away biosolids that are full of PFAS, do they stop and think? If we send out a letter that states that the water is exceeding recommended levels for PFAS, then do they not draw the line? Hey, can we take a commercial break?
Forever chemicals, microplastics, pharmaceuticals, and total chlorine are real contaminants in our water. Clean water is essential for our everyday life. Water is the best flushing agent our bodies can use. We cook with water, we bathe in water, and we grow our food with water. Call Water Pros for your free in-home evaluation. Water Pros can educate you about the concerns of forever chemicals, microplastics, pharmaceuticals, and total chlorine, and discuss ways to remove these contaminants from your family's water supply. Call 303-862-5554 and request your free evaluation, or go to waterpros.net to request your free in-home consultation. Water Pros is a family-owned, veteran-owned business dedicated to offering the best solutions to meet the needs of the water concerns we have today. Call 303-862-5554 today or www.waterpros.net.
What's in your water? Are you concerned about drinking hormones, antibiotics, or dangerous chemicals? Paul the Waterman here from Water Pros. Don't wait to be sure your water is free from those contaminants. Have our professionals help with affordable solutions. Visit waterpros.net today.
I can't take it anymore. My hair feels like straw, my dishes are covered in spots, and my skin, it's so dry it's like I'm molting.
Uh-oh, sounds like you've got hard water.
Hard water? What do you mean?
Hard water is water with high levels of calcium and magnesium. These minerals can build up in your pipes, slow down appliances, and like you said, make your skin and hair dull and itchy. I bet you have soap scum too, right?
Oh man, how did you know?
Another telltale sign of hard water. But hey, don't stress, it's an easy fix.
Easy? Are you kidding? Anything to do with water is usually drawn out and expensive.
Not when you call Water Pros. They're Denver's go-to experts for water softening and filtration. They make the whole process simple, affordable, and tailored to your needs.
Really? But won't I have to deal with some big, clunky system?
Nope. Water Pros offers compact, efficient systems at competitive prices so more people can have access to soft, clean water. Say goodbye to crusty faucets, dry skin, and those annoying spots on your glasses.
Okay, now you've got my attention. How do I get started?
It's easy. Just call Water Pros at 303-862-5554 or visit waterpros.net. Paul and his friendly team will test your water for free and customize the perfect solution.
Free water testing and no more straw-like hair or spotty dishes? Sign me up.
That's the spirit. Trust me, Water Pros will have you loving your water in no time.
Water Pros, Denver's trusted water experts. Call 303-862-5554 or visit waterpros.net today.
Better water starts here.
This is KLZ 560 AM, your home station.
Welcome back to Water Talk. I'm Paul the Waterman. How many explanations do you think we're going to get for ignoring the problem of PFAS in the municipal water sewage treatment system. PFAS is a contaminant that stays in your body. It doesn't disappear. It stays in the soil. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't break down. Rain doesn't break it down. Acidic conditions doesn't break it down. It stays. It's forever. And so when we get a letter, that everybody received last spring, might have been last fall, but we all, they got the letter letting them know, but that the PFAS level exceeded the EPA limit. At what point do you think our civic leaders said, hey, how's this going to affect the waste treatment? What's going to happen when we get rid of those biosolids? And if they get rid of those biosolids and they send it to a family farm or they sell it and it's used for fertilizer, do they not know the risk? If you have any questions or comments, please feel free. 303-477-5600. That's 303-477-5600. Now, it can be removed from the water supply. That poor fella, he spent $23,000 on a water filtration system. So it was malpractice, because there's no way a $23,000 properly maintained water filtration system should allow PFAS to return. Again, common sense is a dying commodity in today's world. Water filtration is not plug and play. If you maintain it properly, it'll do a great job. So we know that PFAS can be removed from water through reverse osmosis, activated carbon, and anion exchange resin. Anion exchange resin is opposite of cation exchange or water softening resin, but it's very sensitive. It can remove fluoride, it can remove nitrates, and it can remove PFAS out of the water. It has to be supported by water softening. Every major basic water filtration really should be supported by soft water, because soft water, you remove the hardness, then the filter media can do its job. But then there's the other issue, is that water filtration media does not filter unlimited amounts of gallons of water. It drives me bonkers when I see on companies online that says that a water filter can filter over 1 million gallons of water. That's just nonsense. That's nutsy cuckoo. How can they make that claim? No way can you say a water filter can filter total chlorine content for over 1 million gallons of water without knowing what the rest of the water chemistry is. False advertising. Just like there's no such thing as salt-free water softeners. They don't exist. Water filtration is going to be just as important as life insurance. It's going to be just as needed as a furnace and hot water heater, especially in the wintertime. Water filtration is a necessity in today's world. It's an absolute have to have.
And with 97% of Americans affected, according to the CDC, are PFAS already in your blood? Are they in mine?
I'm a little nervous, but doctor, what do my test results show?
The results when we come back.
Realize that heifer doesn't have a collar on her.
So what happened to Fred and Laura and Adam and Johanna? How did PFAS end up on prime American farmland?
We have this bright idea that we're going to take all this sewer sludge and we're going to spread it on the land as fertilizer.
Sludge, a byproduct of sewage treatment plants, but it can be used as a natural fertilizer. This land reclamation project demonstrates how nutrients contained in sludge can convert unused land into fertile crop-bearing farm areas.
The answer lies in a type of fertilizer made from treated sewage called sludge, and a program that spread it directly on their land.
Particularly in the 70s, we started taking that sludge and applying it to farmland as a fertilizer.
Welcome to the Sludge Pathway with epidemiologist Patrick McCroy.
The process starts with the manufacturing of PFAS. right? So DuPont, 3M, others actually manufacture these chemicals.
Patrick says these manufacturing plants discharge to a sewer system, which goes to a wastewater treatment facility. Then there's PFAS in your home, from our clothing that's stain resistant to our sofas and carpets and our cleaning products. When we clean an item in the washing machine or dump a bucket down the drain.
But they have to do something with all of those solids that settle out, and that's what we call sludge. So you have this contaminated sludge that then goes to a local farm where it's spread out as fertilizer. Most of the PFAS that ends up in most people is from what we eat, right? So if you look at the PFAS that's on the farmland, goes into crops, or goes into crops that are eaten by animals that we then eat, that PFAS is eaten by us.
At what point in this entire flow chart and process does the EPA test for PFAS?
They don't. They never test for PFAS.
So we have a question. The question is, how does a water filter remove PFAS? So here we go. The first is activated carbon. So forever chemicals are organic, and activated carbon absorbs organic. So it would absorb the PFAS out of the water. However, the bad side is that it doesn't release it. It's there. It's always in the carbon. So what you would want to do is basically have a game plan based upon the size of the filtration system, how much water you're using, to determine how long you should use that filter before it's changed. So that's number one. The second option is a point of use reverse osmosis. Now remember, reverse osmosis is a 3-4 stage filtration system, actually, and the RO membrane is nanofiltration. So that means it's 0.0001 micron. The good thing is that reverse osmosis is small enough that it would trap the PFAS inside the membrane. So the PFAS would be trapped, and pure water would pass on through, and so reverse osmosis is effective. Again, you'd want to take a look at how much water is being used, determine how long the reverse osmosis membrane should be changed. The third way to remove PFAS, or forever chemicals, is through that anion exchange resin. So anion exchange is opposite of a water softener. So the water softener removes calcium, removes hardness. So the anion resin basically works the same way. So here's what's going to happen. The anion resin is opposite charged of cation resin, but what happens is the resin beads will attract the PFAS forever chemical, and that attaches itself to the bead. And then through the process of regeneration, where you can clean and reuse that media, what you do is you take conventional water softening salt. It's converted to a saline solution. That saline solution rinses the media or the anion resin bed, and then the contaminants go back down the drain. The bad thing is the contaminants go back down the drain, right back into the waste treatment plant, right back into the main water supply, which again, back into our home, which the anion resin system can remove. Anion resin-based conditioners absolutely need to be supported by conventional water softeners. So we have three main ways, and all three of these have been approved by the EPA. And this is something that I was mentioning before. It's going to be extremely difficult to design a system that can treat water on a grand scale coming from a municipality, just solely on the volume of the water that is in the water pressure that's being run through. You'd have to have a small office building full of activated carbon or an anion resin system that has to be supported by water softening. And I just think it would be an engineering nightmare. Plus, then what would we do with all that brine wastewater? Because that's going to be hot water again, right? That's going to be contaminated. One of the things that could be overused or misused, let me say that misused, are commercial reverse osmosis membranes. Remember what happened, not quite a year ago. If you reverse osmosis membranes, either the small point of use ones that fit underneath your kitchen sink, or the commercial RO membranes that are used at bottling plants for soda, Pepsi, for example, Coca-Cola, or bottled water companies, if they don't pre-treat the water and they try to use a reverse osmosis membrane as both pre-treatment and main treatment, then the hardness will eat up those membranes, and that's how we got microplastic contamination in bottled water. because the membranes absorbed the hardness, exhausted and destroyed the membranes, and then the plastic bounced off. They weren't absorbed, and they became smaller and smaller and smaller. And even reverse osmosis membrane fabric, nylon fabric, was also found in bottled water. So the moral of that story is that you can misuse reverse osmosis membranes, and so water filtration is not plug and play. There has to be an absolute order of filtration to be effective. Start with salt water. So to answer the question, the reverse osmosis membrane is small enough, it's nanofiltration, that it will absolutely grab, and that's a great sign. That means it's going to grab the forever chemicals out of the water. Now when we change the RO membrane, most likely, my recommendation, instead of throwing that back into the landfill, when allowed, burn it in the fire pit.
Right? EPA requires the sewer districts to test for a handful of heavy metals, but they never test for PFAS.
So this sludge is going onto farmland without being tested for PFAS by the EPA?
Correct. By the EPA or by any state or local authority. It's just not tested, no one knows.
Forgive me, that sounds crazy.
It is.
So you have almost like a cycle that you take the hazardous waste, apply the sludge on the land, you now contaminate the land, that contaminates the water, that's contaminated the food chain. We're into a real serious problem here with this forever chemical.
Well, these are some of the original permits from Kmart Sewer District for spreading on our fields. Yeah, this one's from, this one says October of '86. And there's a signature of the commissioner.
This 1986 letter from Maine's Department of Environmental Protection told Fred the material was safe to spread on his farm.
They said it was a safe material to use on our fields. And again, we were doing our civic duty by using it and keeping this material off from landfills and what have you. So yeah, it was great. It was a win-win situation for everybody involved.
Ultimately, how many times did you end up sludging?
Oh, every year from 83 until 04. Oh yeah, I mean, this is a nightmare beyond nightmares.
When the Nordells purchased their farm, they didn't know the land had been sludged 4 times by a farmer in the early 90s.
They were told that it was their civic duty to help with the societal problem of municipal sludge. So they got a bad deal. We got a bad deal. That was not a good idea.
PFAS are completely man-made, created from the top-secret World War II nuclear bomb Manhattan Project.
Stone and steel are turned into gas.
After the war, 3M bought the patent to develop these newly discovered chemicals and found they did a remarkable job resisting water, stains. 3M created Scotchgard. PFAS made their way into firefighting foam and in our homes, in carpet and couches, and under the company DuPont in our Teflon pans.
It's in firefighter gear. It's in flame retardant clothing we put babies in.
Firefighter gear. How many firefighters have we heard that fall victim to cancer because of PFAS contamination? I mean, Channel 9's own Corey Rose, her father passed away of cancer, firefighter, that same contamination, PFAS, forever chemicals. So the good news is we absolutely have the solution to remove PFAS. You can give us a call at Water Pros, 303-862-5554, and we can discuss the easy solutions to remove these forever chemicals from your water supply.
It's in the furniture that we spray, the Scotchgard, so we don't stain something. It's in our makeup. It's everywhere. It's in our coffee cups. It's everything. It is pretty catastrophic that a chemical like this has gotten into every aspect of our life.
How many states are impacted by this?
All 50. There's millions of acres of farmland that is still being sludged today. Probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of farms that are still using sludge.
the Environmental Working Group claims at least 20 million acres of American farmland may be contaminated. Now, according to the CDC, PFAS can be found in the blood of 97% of Americans. I went in for a blood test.
I'm a little nervous, but doctor, what do my test results show?
Unfortunately, for someone like you who has made such an effort to get the PFAS out of your environment, you did test positive. Fortunately, it was only 3 out of the 6.
My test results are positive for 3 out of 6 tested types of PFAS circulating in my blood. The results place me above the threshold for concern for adverse effects.
You're in a category where you need to be monitored to see if there's any long-term impact of this on you. In particular, your cholesterol level, risk for breast cancer, and hypertension in pregnancy.
We're not going to be able to stop the break in the dam and the flood that is about to come. We've taken our own hazardous waste and destroyed our land, destroyed our water, and now we're destroying our food chain.
How did we get here?
They've ripped the heart and soul out of us.
I think not only is that possible, I think it's probable that thousands of farms are going to be impacted.
Where was the EPA when this was happening? And why won't it do more now? We went to Washington to ask when we come back. These documents show what Erin Brockovich calls the shell game.
It's moving stuff around, for the end result that makes them more money and leaves destruction in its path.
So we have in front of us here a large stack of documents that come from the chemical companies themselves, documenting what they knew about PFAS chemicals, their harm to people and harm to the environment.
What they knew and yet did not tell us.
Exactly. Most of this was secret, just kept in chemical industry files, right, until various lawsuits forced them to disclose it.
It starts with animal studies in the 50s and 60s that showed impacts to the liver, kidneys, and spleen, and acute oral toxicity.
Going all the way back to 1963, 3M knew there were risks with these chemicals. They put it in their own manual that they're toxic and they need precautions.
Then, a test on firefighting foam has to be abandoned when the substance leaves all the fish dead. Then PFAS in food packaging, impacting the livers of dogs. And in the 70s, the first indication that PFAS already flowed in the blood of Americans.
So this is really interesting. This is in 1975, the first time that a scientist is alerting 3M, hey, we're in just regular Americans' blood, we are finding levels of PFAS. Why might that be?
Right, exactly. So this was just, unrelated to PFAS research per se. It was just scientists looking at chemicals in human blood, found some of these PFAS chemicals and were like, why are these here? What's going on?
And what does that mean? So that means that by 1975, the marketplace is already flooded with PFAS to the extent that it could actually show up in an average American's
that just average person already has PFAS in their blood by 1975.
In a phone call, a 3M chemist pleads ignorance. Court filings show that 3M soon replicates this in their own studies. Then a letter from their lawyers appears to advise the company to conceal the chemical found in human blood was a type of PFAS. Around this time, DuPont warns 3M about toxic effects of PFAS in our food packaging. And by the late 70s into the 80s, documents suggesting 3M and DuPont are becoming aware that their own employees are getting sick.
This one is really, I think a smoking gun document. So in 1981, 3M was concerned enough about the potential for birth defects as a result of these chemicals that they actually reassigned all the female workers in the plant to jobs that didn't involve exposure. This document is actually a draft press release that their communications team developed in case that became public, right? So they didn't actually tell the public about this.
Then PFAS appears to be in the water.
The levels they found back then, would be considered very high today.
And workers keep getting sick. More than 2 decades after scientists told 3M the blood of Americans contained PFAS, in 1998, 3M finally alerts the EPA that the type of PFAS in their Scotchgard builds up in blood.
USDA and EPA, how in the hell did this get by you?
So basically, we've have over 50 years of PFAS contamination that's gone on globally, I think it's safe to say, since 1975. So over 50 years of PFAS contamination, forever chemical contamination, goes into the water supply, the water we drink, the food that we eat. And so PFAS, in summary, gets into the vegetation that the animals eat, that we eat the animals. Think about the PFAS in our cucumbers, tomatoes, and apples. It's all over. It's called bioaccumulate. Think about this. Do we know the impact of the firefighting foam fighting our forest fires in the Lake Granby? Has that been tested for PFAS? Dillon Reservoir. Has that been tested for PFAS? What about, we do a lot of hunting in Colorado, what about the elk and deer that are harvested during hunting season? Have they been tested for PFAS? How far should we take this? I think sky's the limit. I think we should take this as far as it can go. I think we have to become very aware. Forever Chemicals is a contaminant in water that can be removed through a point-of-use reverse osmosis drinking water system that can be removed with a whole house anion resin-based system that has to be supported by conventional water softening. That way you can remove it at every single faucet. You can also use activated carbon, absolutely correct. But activated carbon is something that's a filter media that will definitely have to be changed. So I want to thank caller calling in today and asking the question. If you have any other questions, please reach out to us. You can call us at the studio at 303-477-5600. You can give me a call at 303-862-5554. I'd love to talk to you, answer any questions that you have, and we'll be more than happy to come to your home. That's right. I, Paul the Waterman, will be more than happy to come to your home and answer any questions that you have. And check out all our shows are on a podcast. Just look up Paul the Waterman. You can go to YouTube and check out Paul the Waterman. We're on Spotify. Just type in Paul the Waterman. Thank you very much. God bless, and we'll see you next week.
With forever chemicals in your water, it's crucial to think about the quality of your water. Paul the Waterman here for Water Pros. Be sure your water is safe with affordable solutions from Water Pros. Visit waterpros.net today.
Forever chemicals in our water is now a part of our life. Forever chemicals means that these chemicals don't break down. Call Water Pros for your free in-home evaluation of the concerns of forever chemicals and the ways to remove forever chemicals from your family's water supply. Call 303-862-5554 and request your free evaluation, or go to waterpros.net.
KLZ 560 AM, your home station.
Remember to reach out to Paul the Waterman with your questions and water filtration needs, and be sure to tune in to Water Talk Thursdays at 2 p.m. to talk with Paul. And for more information, find him on the programming page at klzradio.com.